Stellar Life, mission log number 262.
Sometimes people are afraid to listen to their intuition because it's hard. They don't want to do what it says. You don't have to do what it says right away, even though you know you need to. You can do a little part of it, or you can just listen. You don't have to immediately act on every single thing your intuition tells you to do. We are in control at all times.
Welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. Get inspired and live out loud. From love, freedom, and success to having it all. Here's your host, coach, speaker, and shining star, Orion.
Roger, you're looking good.
Hello and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. How are you doing? This is Orion. Welcome. My guest is Katie Beecher. She's a professional counselor and medical and emotional intuitive with over 30 years of experience. She has a unique way of working with clients, creating a detailed, individualized physical, emotional, spiritual report and symbolic painting before even seeing them, talking to them, or seeing a photograph, using only their name and age. Heal from Within, an intuitive guide to wellness, is Katie's book, which will be published in early 2021. It teaches people how to use their intuition. Her unique technique as a medical intuitive, informed from her guides and experience as a Jungian psychologist, to heal physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It also describes how she became a medical intuitive and details her own healing from an eating disorder, depression, and Lyme disease. So Katie is phenomenal. I was gifted a painting and sessions from my lovely husband. Just gifted it to me. And she created the painting and then she sent me a report. And I wasn't expecting much. But from the first paragraph, it was just spot on. It was amazing. I don't know how she does it, but she's the real deal. And it seemed like she was just like she knew me from the inside out. So I hope you will enjoy this episode as much as I did. And if you can, seriously, do a session with her because she's unbelievable. If you need something, you need some healing, she's the real deal. And now, without further ado, on to the show.
2, 1, 0.
Hey, Katie, and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. I'm very excited to have you here on the show.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Before we begin, can you share a little bit about your life story and how you find your passion?
Certainly. My own recovery, which has really shaped the way that I work with my clients. When I was 16, I had a pretty severe eating disorder and depression. And I knew that I was either going to get better or wasn't going to be on the planet anymore, mostly because I couldn't stand living that way. So without telling my parents, I called our family doctor and told them what I was doing. And this was 1983, so it was really before people paid much attention to eating disorders. But I said, I really need help. And he connected me with a therapist. Fortunately, this therapist was trained in Jungian therapy, so Carl Jung, and was very open to things like connecting to intuition and the psychic-y abilities that I had and talking to dead people and all of that. So she really helped me to accept all those abilities because I was really afraid of them in the past.
Can we stop before you keep going? Can you tell me a little bit about those abilities that you had? I mean, what happened there? Did you start talking to dead people and hearing all kind of psychic voices and that was a part of your depression, or was it separate?
I think that there was a connection from the time I was very little. I don't remember when it started, but I always remember being very tuned into other people's feelings and thoughts. And I picked up a lot of evil, which was pretty scary. So negative energy. Unfortunately, I had a lot of negative people around me at that time in my family. My parents would always say, how did you know that? And how did you know that about that person? And I don't remember actually what I was picking up. I don't think I knew that I was talking to the other side or that I was talking to people who had died, but I just knew that I was getting a lot of information and feeling things that I couldn't explain.
Mm.
So now I'm a medical and spiritual intuitive and a licensed counselor. And as you know from the reading I did for you, I use my abilities to help people heal, to help them figure out the root causes of their issues, to help them connect to intuition and find self-love, and even develop their own spiritual skills.
Right. And so before we dive in, what was your healing journey like? And how did you come to term with your gifts, and how did you heal?
Yeah. So fortunately, I found this therapist, and I was very, very determined. I think that you really have to reach whatever your bottom is to decide that you're going to get better, because I was bulimic. I was throwing up 3 times a day. I was into it in a bad way. And the depression was really severe. And I think I was literally just determined that I was going to get better. I was about to go off to college and didn't want to be really sick there. So I knew that I needed to change. And the way that this therapist worked, she taught me how to not only connect to my intuition, but she said, I was able to talk to her about all of my talking to dead people and the intuition and the psychic abilities. And I was able to talk to somebody really for the first time in my life about all that.
Mm.
And she not only helped me to understand it, to accept it, to not think I was a freaking weirdo, but she also helped me to feel safe and to realize that I didn't have to be afraid of it. And that even when I was picking negative stuff up, it couldn't hurt me. I was always safe. So that experience of working with her kind of gave me the courage to continue to do my work as far as the eating disorder. And I have to say the hardest part of healing was learning to love and accept myself, which is really sad, because we're all born with that and it gets undone along the way. But, without that component, I know that I would not be alive. I wouldn't be here. I certainly wouldn't be healed. So that's a huge part of what I teach people now.
Mm-hmm. And how did you take the leap of becoming a medical intuitive? When was that?
After I graduated from college, I became a licensed counselor. And as I worked with people, I worked really intuitively. And what I mean by that is while I was in sessions, I would really just kind of listen to my intuitive voice, my guides, and have them help me to know what to say and what to do to help people. So I always worked intuitively. And then maybe after a few years, I started to channel people's loved ones during our sessions. If they would talk about their grandmother, or if they would talk about somebody that they loved that they were grieving, or somebody that they were close to, I didn't mean to, but I would actually start to get information from their loved ones and give them messages about how to heal.
Wow. What does it feel like to get messages like that? Or were you surprised?
Yes. At first, it was both the strangest thing in the entire world and also the most natural, which kind of sounds contradictory. But if I just let it happen and didn't overthink it and didn't overanalyze it, I could say to myself, we're all connected. And this is just a natural thing that I do. It's a natural part of life. I asked my husband one time what it feels like to be married to somebody who talks to dead people for a living. And he just said, well, some people are really good carpenters and some people are good at sports. And he just said, this is your thing and it's perfectly natural. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. I'm fortunate because I can see pictures in my head. I see words in my head. I hear conversations or hear different phrases in my head. I will get feelings. So sometimes, physical feelings about something, or just kind of have a knowing. I have a really sensitive sense of smell, which is super annoying. But sometimes I will smell things like if somebody was a cigarette smoker, or if they like to cook, sometimes I'll smell garlic or something weird like that. But I get all kinds of information. And I've learned after now doing this for 30 years that just to kind of let it happen and not to overthink it. But to answer your question about the medical intuitive thing, I did not know that I had these kind of medical intuitive abilities until probably about 9 years ago now. And I went to a class. It was a really, really stressful time in my life. And the things I was doing, I was an artist and therapist, and it just wasn't doing it for me anymore. I knew I needed to do more. I just didn't know what it was. And so I started taking classes and workshops and ended up going to a 3-day workshop at Omega Institute in New York with a pretty well-known medical intuitive. And she said, I'm going to give you a name and an age. And we didn't know if it was a person or animal or whatever. And just tell me everything that comes to you. And I thought, okay, this is hysterical. I can't do this, but whatever, I'll just try it. And much to my surprise, I started seeing what the person looked like at different ages, even when they were young, seeing hair color, seeing people hunched over, knowing things about stress in their life or trauma that they had been through, knowing about some of the people weren't even alive. It was, dead people. So like getting information about how they passed. And I was pretty shocked, and it was all accurate. And so by the end of just the first day, she kind of said, I don't know what you actually do, but you really should look into doing this. So now it's my thing, and I'm really grateful. I love getting to work with people all over the world.
That's amazing. So we had a session and that was really, really cool. And I want to share a little bit about that session. But before that, I want to share that my husband and I were taking this course with Sheila Gillette, and she channels Theo. I don't participate in most of the course because I'm quite busy, but when I participate, the one time I really participated in, we had an exercise of how to be psychic. They gave us this similar exercise where we weren't supposed to see the person. I did see the person, but then there were words that came to mind and I just wrote it down. None of it made sense. And then when I reflected it back to her, she's like, yes, that's true. And yes, that's true. And oh yeah. And I saw a turtle. I was like, yeah, I just watched this thing about Hawaii today with turtles because we're going to Hawaii or something like that. And I was pretty shocked with the information that came. When I was talking to her, I was like, I see a turtle. I see like a very, very, my confidence was very low when I reflected back to her. And it was very surprising to know that I was channeling something.
I try very hard to make what I do not woo-woo, because I really find that so many people, everybody has intuition, first of all, and we all use it whether we know it or not. We all have medical intuition and use it whether we identify it or not. Like, you have kids, when your child's sick or when they're getting an ear infection, or you have to decide, do I take them to the doctor or can I care for them here? Or even with yourself. So we all have it and we use it all the time. We just don't label it. But it's interesting, when I do workshops, I will give a group of people the same exercises. And a lot of the time, these people are very interested in what I do. So they may have these psychic tendencies anyway. But I will say to them, here's a name and age. Tell me everything you can. And they're just blown away by the stuff that they get right. And, it really just confirms to me that this is not weird.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think I'm almost afraid to dive in and get into that because I've been very, I guess, psychic my whole life, but kind of repressing it. Like it's not a gift and it's not important and I shouldn't look at it. And now my husband is going through this whole like spiritual role and he's taking all those workshops and I'm like, yeah, I've done that. Yeah, I experienced that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. And you have to ask yourself, what is it that you're afraid of? A lot of what kind of trips people up, I find, is number one, overthinking it. Like the thing you said about confidence. Am I doing this right? What if it isn't real? What if I tell somebody something and I'm wrong? Am I going to feel stupid? All of that kind of thing. And also, why does the voice I'm hearing just sound like me? Is this just what I want to hear? it's also, there's a lot of people who are afraid of negative energy, and they really don't need to be, because we're always protected as long as, love is so much more powerful than hate.
I do believe negative energies can affect us. And this is part of the reading you gave me that we're going to talk about it soon. And you hit the nail on the head with everything that you wrote. And you did mention empathy. Like, I am so empathetic.
Yep.
And every time I'm around people, I feel them. And sometimes if they're negative, I feel the negativity. I can't let it go. Absolutely.
Absolutely. It does affect people, but people are afraid that they're going to kind of be like taken over by it. And we are in control at all times. So unless you are in an addicted state or sometimes in a mental illness state where you are not in control of your faculties, we are in control and we don't have to be afraid. But sometimes people are afraid to listen to their intuition because it's hard. They don't want to do what it says.
Right. Yes, of course. So if somebody's listening right now and they want to connect to their psychic gifts and abilities and their intuition, what are some steps that they can take?
My very favorite way, and this is what I learned when I was in therapy. This is a technique that saved my life. I still do it to this day. My favorite thing is to write down either my feelings or thoughts or a question and direct it to my intuition, and then just listen for whatever it is that I hear, see, feel, anything, and write that down. And then I write back to it. And then whatever I get in response to that, I write down and I write back to it. And you're having a written conversation with your intuition. And so some examples are, sometimes I'll just say, do you have anything to tell me today? It doesn't have to be like a major thing. Sometimes I'll just kind of start writing and ask for some feedback about what I wrote, or I'll ask a question about like, should I do this or that, or just, whatever, that kind of thing, deciding on a medical treatment or something, I'll ask about that. So there's no right or wrong way to do it. You don't have to spend a lot of time. Sometimes it's 5 minutes. But the thing I also love about that technique is that you can write to your body, and you can write to your symptoms, and you can write to people who have passed. And in every case, you will get information back.
That's incredible. Have you ever received something that scared you?
Not in a very long time. When I first started it, first of all, I didn't even know what intuition was. I didn't know what self-love was. I didn't know any of that. So I had no clue what I was even freaking doing. And it was scary because it was telling me things that I needed to do to heal. And some of them were really hard, like getting distance from my dysfunctional family, for example, or things like that. And it's scary to address it. But the thing is, too, like, you don't have to do what it says right away, even though you need to. You can do a little part of it, or you can just listen. You don't have to immediately act on every single thing your intuition tells you to do. And again, we're in control. But what I love about it for talking to symptoms and your body is that if you're ill, or if you think you're overweight, or if you have an accident, the tendency is to get mad at our bodies and get really frustrated and angry. And instead of that, like with my eating disorder, I talked to it like it was my friend and said, why are you here? What do you want me to know? What do I need to do to change my life, etc.? And I honestly can say the eating disorder was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it made me like myself. It made me accept and love myself. It made me connect to my intuition. It helped me figure out what I wanted to do with my life, which is this. I never would have gone into any sort of counseling career or intuitive career or connected with my intuitive gifts had I not gone through that experience.
Yeah. Sometimes we get gifts with the bow on the bottom. We don't know it's a gift, but years later we open the gift and it's upside down, and it's a gift, and it's there is so much beauty in it.
For sure.
Yeah. Today I cried in yoga class. It was the first yoga class I took in 2 years, I think. And, after giving birth and going through a C-section, I would wake up every day with my body so sore, still so sore. I did some shockwave therapy and that was amazing and helped me a lot. But still, I feel like the Tin Man. Everything is so tight and weak. I couldn't do a third of what I used to be able to do. And I felt so much frustration. I was tearing up, like seriously, like so almost like feeling sorry for myself. Feeling embarrassed that by mistake I was in the first row because I was late for class and the teacher was doing something and I thought I was in the back, but eventually I was in the first row and everybody could see me and I was really embarrassed because I couldn't do anything. And all those like rubbery girls in the back, they were all bending and doing everything. And I felt so, couldn't even do the simplest, like some poses I was able to do, but so much I couldn't do. And I was so frustrated with myself.
But you know what? You went.
I did, yes.
That's what's important.
Yeah, but like it was, when you're used to being an athlete or used to being, so strong in your body or even flexible and then it's almost being taken away from you. Of course, it's my cause. Like I could have found a way to practice at home and keep it going but I didn't. But just this overwhelm and like, how do we make peace with our bodies? Like my body, she changed so much.
Right. Actually, you know what? That's a really important point. And you and I have talked about pole dancing before. I'm kind of a fanatic pole dancer, but I have a pretty serious injury. And I saw a really amazing post the other day.
And I sent you the podcast with the Orion barista, I think, about shockwave therapy and how amazing it can help you heal. Yeah.
So this person, her name is Marlo Fiskin. She's a really famous pole dancer. And she put up this post saying that last August, she got stuck on the pole and she heard a snap and it was her labrum. Yeah. And she literally could not walk without moving her leg for a month. And even then she stiffened up and just froze and she was in really bad shape. But the point of her post was to embrace the healing and to realize that you needed to maybe learn to move in a different way or learn to connect in a different way and to give your body the time and space that it needs to heal.
You know what? I think my tears today were more of that kind because as I was in like, okay, they're all doing these fancy poses. I have to be in child pose. And it was just a moment of surrender of, okay, that it is what it is. This is where I am right now. This is where we are. And it's not where we used to be, but it was just like just surrendering and acceptance. And because before that, I was just like, I can do it. It's okay. It's fine. I don't feel it. It doesn't matter that I can do it. I wasn't even acknowledging my own emotions. And then when I was in this child pose and I was like, I do feel bad. I do feel uncomfortable. I do feel a little embarrassed. I do feel small. Like just the acknowledgement of those emotions and the letting go, that was the thing that brought the tears.
Yeah.
The tears, yes.
So it was a good thing.
It was a great thing. Yeah, it was good. And I'm coming back. Doesn't matter. Who cares?
That's right. You know what? Everybody started somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so good for us. So you said that you teach your clients how to do their own readings. Before we get into that, can we talk a little bit about our reading?
Yes, I'd love to.
Okay, cool. So I got a piece of art from you. Like you do this art, very colorful. And through that, you channel what's going on with the person. You break it into chakras and what are the symptoms and where they're coming from. And you sent me a report prior to our session. And it was like you were me. Like you knew things about me I don't think my husband knows.
I love it.
And we are very open, but the depth of it was almost like I was telling you all that.
You know, I hear that all the time, but I never take it for granted. And I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah. And it was incredible. I still have to follow up and do a lot of the things you told me to do, which of course I haven't done, but I will. But yeah, it was just spot on physically, mentally, emotionally. You were just boom, 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 boom. And like you said, you get phrases. You even got, so, and I told you that I shared it with you. I took a workshop with Donnie Epstein on 2013, and it was, I forgot the name of how they phrase it, but kind of like your life's mission or your statement. And mine was to light up the world. And on the first paragraph you sent me, you said, your job is to light up the world. And as soon as I saw it, and I was in the car with Stefan, and I was like, oh, she just wrote this. This is amazing. And the more I kept going, the more I was like, oh, and that's true. Wow.
Love it. I love it. Yay.
Tell me, what's your process? How do you get this? Well, you have 30 years of experience, but besides that.
Yeah. No, it's honestly, people ask me that all the time. And I wish I had a good answer, but what I do is I write the person's name and age on my blank template, basically, the form for the report. And I start by drawing an oracle card to get me out of my own head. That's a lot of the reading is just, stop being human, but get me out of my own head and give me a direction to go in. And then from there, I literally just say, please give me, to my guides and stuff, please give me the information that I need to help this person, whatever it is. And I just start writing. I pay attention to, I try to scan their body kind of, section by section, chakra by chakra. So I scan to see what I see on the outside, what I see on the inside, any kind of words about their body, about their life, about their relationships or career or, literally everything that was on there. It's there's so much information. And I just try to be really open and not judge what I'm getting and not interpret it, because if I start to overthink it, that's when I can screw it up. Just like a quick example, I was working with a 12-year-old girl and I heard teeth enamel. And so my humanness was like, okay, well, she must have really, difficult teeth. But all I wrote was teeth enamel and told her mom. And her mom said, no, she actually has extraordinarily strong teeth enamel, has never had a cavity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if I were, if I let my humanness take over and assume, then that would have been wrong. But I've learned just to listen and write things down and let them do their work.
That's amazing. And if we want to scan our own bodies and find answers, communicate with our bodies, how do we do that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I fully encourage people to do that written, technique and talk to their bodies. And maybe before that, lay down or sit down, be in a quiet place, which, not always easy, but try to be in a quiet place. And just start with the top of your head, maybe even start with the energy around you, and allow whatever comes to you, even if it's weird. So I was telling somebody about this, actually somebody asked me about this, and she's like, well, what if I don't get anything? And I said, well, maybe you get something that you don't understand and just allow it. And I said, I have no idea why this is coming to me, but I just heard peacock. And she said, okay, that's really freaky, because my very best friend that I'm actually in an argument with and I'm really upset about it, her nickname is Peacock. So everything could have a meaning. You could see an elephant and be like, what the heck? And then just look up the symbolism for an elephant and see if anything resonates with you. As you saw from the pictures, a lot of communication is symbolic. And I think when we're on the other side, we don't need words. So we may just hear, feel, or whatever. And I think that's what we can tap into. But just allow. And let's say you see the inside of your, uterus, and you see some bumps in there, and just kind of ask for more information,
Right. Remember during our session, we talked about Kundalini energy, which is serpent energy, and how to open that up. And immediately as we were talking, just from the window, I saw a black snake.
Yep. That was so cool.
It's like serpent energy. Okay. Hello, totem animal. How are you?
Right.
Yeah, that was so cool. It happens to me, sometimes I do these interviews or I'll have a conversation with someone here in the office and I'll have an animal visit me. On my last interview, it was quite funny because I was talking to the lady and I was trying to stay very serious and on top of things. She's very, an important scientist and I didn't want to disturb the interview, but just in front of my eye, this little spider just was like, hello, da, 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 da.
And your crab story was so funny.
Oh yeah. And I had a blue crab. I had an iguana.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. You never know. You just have to be open to any communication,
Right. This is amazing. Can you share a little bit about your book? What was the process of writing it and what is it all about?
Absolutely. So when I was going through my recovery, when I was 16, I heard at that time that I was going to write a book and that I was going to be influencing people all over the world and large numbers of people with what my guides were giving me. It wasn't about me. It's not about me, but it's about the information that I'm receiving. And especially the communication with intuition and finding self-love for healing. So I am now 56, not 16, but I found out in my mid-40s that I had Lyme disease, probably had it since I was a kid. And I asked my guides, what's this about? And my guide said, okay, it's time to start writing that proposal for your book. So,
wow.
Yeah. So my book it starts with my backstory about my healing and things and the eating disorder, and then teaches people how to connect to their own intuition and how they can use that intuition to connect to their body and their energy. And then I really teach all of the specific techniques that I use in my individual readings. All of those tools, everything I do, I spell that out and I teach it to people in my book. So basically how you would go through a reading on yourself and teaching them about chakras and looking at that and how to identify the issues and the root causes and where to start and what could be contributing and, again, like super detailed information. And then looking at what can you do to start your healing physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Again, like tools and questionnaires and really specific kinds of things. It's not at all vague. And just, giving information from my guides and also research I've done into specific illnesses and issues, because it's really important to me that even when I get information from my guides, it's really important to me that it be evidence-based and clinically based. So it's a combination of all those things, but it's basically using your intuition and all of these techniques that I have developed. Not all of them. I can't take credit for the Jungian psychology techniques, but those and the techniques that I've developed and the information from my guides to how to, look at your own body and energy and help to heal yourself.
That's beautiful. Can you share a healing story that is extraordinary or totally surprised you?
Yeah, I read all different ages, and I was doing a reading for a 5-year-old boy. All I knew is that he was 5 and I knew his name. And I did my report, but the painting I do these watercolor paintings, and sometimes they're a figure, sometimes they're an animal or a plant or a tree or whatever. And I saw a fire truck. And then as I was painting the fire truck, I made a fireman on the top of the truck, and he was spraying water into like a tall apartment building. And then I also made this dog. But the weirdest thing was I was trying to make the fire hose curled up on the outside of the truck. And I made an S, and I thought, okay, this is really weird. It doesn't look like a fire hose at all. What am I making? Like Superman's fire truck? This is weird. But I just went with it. So talked to his mom. He happened to be autistic and he wasn't speaking, really difficult situation. But she said that right before she had him, they had a fire in their apartment and lost everything.
Wow.
It gets better. Then she found out that she was pregnant. And when they lost everything in the fire, she was despondent. She said, I was ready to end my life. I had just been through a lot of stuff and I had given up. And she found out she was pregnant and that changed her life. And she said, basically this child saved me. He was my Superman. And his middle name is the same as Superman's middle name.
Wow.
It gave me, I get, I'm pretty used to this, but I still get goosebumps. And that gave me goosebumps on top of goosebumps. It was a wild one.
Nice. Wow. Katie, what are your 3 top tips to living a stellar life?
Love yourself. And people are like, I don't even know where to start. There's nothing I even like about myself. So just start by saying nice things to yourself, by noticing when you look at your, the cellulite in your body, or when you give yourself a negative message or say something that you don't like, notice those things and reverse them. And it's just one little thing at a time to start loving and accepting yourself and not being judgmental. Definitely connect to your intuition. And when I talk about intuition, I mean this huge, loving, amazing source, powerful source that is within all of us. It's a source of self-love and self-acceptance and protection. And it's literally always there with you, keeping you safe. And so we all need something like that in our lives. And also to be authentic, just be yourself. And again, people are like, I don't know who I am. And I'm like, what color do you like? What do you like to do? What's your job? And pretty soon they have a pretty long list. And they're like, I didn't even know what all of that meant, being myself, my true self, who I really am. And I said, it's everything that makes us up. It's not just some earth-shattering thing. And the more you are yourself, the more you have the courage to stand up for yourself and not take crap from people and not be in bad relationships and, all that kind of stuff, but to be true to yourself.
Yeah. Katie, thank you so much. I love you. I think you're incredible. I think everybody has got everybody who needs coaching or a medical intuitive or just a guidance and just to know what's going on in their lives should have a session with you because you are outstanding. And I really appreciate you. And I had a blast. It was not only did I get the what I needed as far as next steps, but it was almost like for me, like a therapy session and almost like talking to a friend and feeling really like I'm gotten, like you got me. Like I can talk to you and you got me and I can be open with you. And that's very rare and it's very special. And I really appreciate you.
That's so important to me. I want people to feel relaxed and heard and comfortable and seen. And that means everything to me that you felt that way.
Yeah, thank you. And Katie, if somebody wants to work with you and get an incredible session with you, where do they go?
To my website, it's Katie, Katie, Beecher, all one word, Beecher, katiebeecher.com.
Perfect. Thank you, Katie. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure, my dear.
And thank you, listeners. Remember to love yourself, connect to your intuition, be yourself, and have a stellar life. This is Orion. Till next time. Thank you for joining me on my mission to light people up and change lives around the world. I hope today's conversation inspires you to step up, go after the life of your dreams, and be who you want to be. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go to stellarlifepodcast.com for show notes, transcripts, and other cool stuff. And please subscribe, review, and help spread the word by sharing us on Facebook and Twitter. Have a lovely day, and I'll catch you on the next episode.